The year is 2180. It's been 103 years since the nuclear bombs have wiped out much of society. While some regions have been able to navigate their way through the apocalypse, others are still reeling from the damage. The Commonwealth falls into the latter category. Though over a century has passed since America's destruction, much of the former state of Massachusetts is still divided and alone. Small, independent settlements are dotted throughout the area, and the region only touts two major cities, Quincy and Diamond City. Noticing a lack of community among the settlements of the Commonwealth, a group of militant civilians took it upon themselves to protect the region from whatever the wastes would throw at it. This group would be known as the Commonwealth Minutemen. The first group of Minutemen rose to prominence when they defended the region's largest settlement from a super mutant attack. From then on, the group became the driving force in shaping the Commonwealth. The volunteer soldiers would offer aid and protection to settlements at a minute's notice. They would even take on bigger social projects as well. In an effort to unite the region, the Minutemen attempted to organize the Commonwealth Provisional Government. The Minutemen invited representatives from several large settlements, including the remains of the Commonwealth Institute of Technology, shortened to the Institute. At the time, many people were scared of the Institute's synths, as an incident in Diamond City saw a rogue synth attack several bar patrons. However, in a show of good faith, the Institute would join the Minutemen and the other settlements in trying to hash out what a Commonwealth Provisional Government would look like. However, after 4 years of deliberation and much political infighting, the Institute would determine that the CPG was a failure. So, against the wishes of some divisions inside the Institute, at the next CPG meeting, while other settlements sent representatives, the director of the Institute sent a synth. This synth proceeded to exterminate everyone at the meeting in a tragic event known as the CPG Massacre. The CPG Massacre marked the end of not only peaceful talks with the Institute, but also stopped the Minutemen from any future attempts at creating a coalition government. Now, why might this be? Well, while the game never explicitly goes over this, I'm left to assume that it was due to a lack of trust in the Minutemen. While their military presence was helpful for protecting settlements in need, they lost the trust of the Commonwealth as competent leaders. And as time went on, they started to develop a track record of mistakes. Their one failed attempt and lack of further attempts at creating the Commonwealth Provisional Government was only the first mistake of many for the Commonwealth Minutemen. We're left only to assume that a lack of trust in the Minutemen's leadership is what deterred any future attempts at uniting the settlements. After all, this wasn't the first time that the group had failed to do what they promised. 2 incidents, one worse than the other, ensured the downfall of the Minutemen. As was well known already, the Minutemen were capable defenders of less capable settlements. However, reliability was a question mark. In a conversation with Kessler, the mayor of Bunker Hill, she notes that the Minutemen used to protect the settlement, but one day didn't answer the call for help. The Minutemen abandoned Bunker Hill, and many residents were killed in the ensuing conflict. As a result, the caravan hub now must pay off the surrounding raider gangs as to ensure their own protection. And even when the sole survivor helps Kessler by eliminating Judge Zeller's raider gang, she is still hesitant to work with the Minutemen. The lack of trust is evident, but this wasn't the worst of it. Some people might think that the Minutemen were one big happy united faction, and that was the case until their best general, General Joe Becker, had suddenly passed away, leaving no agreed upon successor. This incident caused quite a bit of internal strife. You see, the general serves as the leader of the Minutemen, with individual smaller groups being led by colonels. The general's sudden death splintered the faction, leaving several of these smaller sub-factions being led by who they believed to be the right person in charge. At the bare minimum, we know of at least 3 sub-factions, the Minutemen being led by Colonel Hollis, those under Colonel Marbury, and those following James Wire, who ultimately left the Minutemen to found a raider gang at Libertalia. This internal conflict and lack of true leadership would ultimately lead to the faction's downfall. Where the Minutemen rose to prominence at one of the Commonwealth's largest settlements, Diamond City, they would meet their demise at the other, Quincy. Sometime before the immediate events of Fallout 4, Quincy was under threat of a mercenary group known as the Gunners. The settlement would have been taken without resistance if it were not for Mama Murphy and Sturgis. Mama had a vision of the town in ruins. After hearing this, Sturgis pressured Mayor Jackson to put out a call for the Commonwealth Minutemen. Quincy did its best to hold out against the Gunners until Colonel Hollis's Minutemen arrived, sandwiching the attacking Gunners and eliminating over a third of their force. With the Gunners temporarily routed, the Minutemen set about fortifying the settlement to ward off any future assault. In addition to the fortifications, Hollis put out a call for more Minutemen reinforcements. However, it would seem that the Minutemen's internal conflicts stopped all hopes for additional aid. To top this off, it would seem that a former 10-year Minutemen veteran had actually defected to the Gunners, believing that the Minutemen's petty squabbling was a death sentence for the faction. Not wanting to be part of the Minutemen's downfall, Clint decided to become it. On the eve of the Gunners' impending attack, Clint arrived to Quincy alongside Gunner Sergeant Baker and Officer Tessa. At first, Hollis believed that Clint's arrival indicated Minutemen arrival. This changed when Clint made it clear he was there to negotiate the town's surrender. Hollis refused Clint's offer, and shortly thereafter the Gunners would attack. Under the shroud of darkness provided by the Massachusetts night, the Gunners would post up on the nearby highway, attacking the defenders of the town from the high ground. The poor visibility and high ground gave the Gunners a swift victory. It would only take 1 hour before the town of Quincy was under Gunner control, and Colonel Hollis executed. Only a small group led by Preston Garvey managed to escape the slaughter. Despite Minutemen protection, the prosperous settlement of Quincy was no more. This event marked the end of the Minutemen. Word of the Minutemen's failure to protect the massive settlement spread, leaving many to question whether they were a capable group at all. With Preston Garvey claiming to be the sole survivor of the Minutemen, the future of the faction is left in the air. The history of the Minutemen started on a high note, successfully defending the great green jewel of the Commonwealth. But after that, thanks to a lack of decisive leadership and the inability to effectively unite the many scattered people of the Commonwealth, they ended up succumbing to their own internal strife. It wasn't that the Institute sent a synth to stop the Commonwealth Provisional Government, or the Minutemen refusing to answer Bunker Hill's call for help, or their inability to stop the Gunners from taking Quincy that doomed the Minutemen. A better faction would have been able to come back from these tragic events. It was their lack of effective leadership. When the sole survivor is promoted to general, they're able to restore the Minutemen and unite many settlements through assisting them and setting up trade routes because they now have a better leader. With the help from the sole survivor, the Commonwealth's one true good faction is restored, ready to protect the people at a minute's notice. If you like this video, please subscribe, share, and comment. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.
Minutemen? So now I'm traveling backward in time?
Protect the people at a minute's notice. That was the idea. So I joined up, wanted to make a difference. And I did, but things fell apart. Now it looks like I'm the last Minuteman left standing.